It's getting closer every day. You could feel it. You could smell it. You could taste it. You could feel it. You could sense it. Unless you're a Colts fan and you are already ready to throw in the towel on the season. Wow. Anyways, as the NFL world turns, let's go ahead and tackle this week's NFL Q&A. Probably some good questions in here, so I'm just going to dive right on in. Peter Jedra asks, do you think the Alliance of American Football was a reasonable idea? Apparently not. It didn't even make it through its inaugural season. And for all the crap talking about the XFL, which I'm sure is destined to be its own failure, it's got Bill Polian and it's got all of this. Actually, it didn't matter. It just didn't matter. It failed. So apparently it wasn't a reasonable idea at all. Matt Holtman, thoughts on the Titans? I see them as a playoff team. I think they have a chance at it, but you're going to have to wait for my team-by-team previews in order to find out what I really think about the Titans in 2019. Nice try. Stephen Hilton asks, do you think the 49ers regret signing Jimmy G to that big-ass contract? Here's the thing about the Jimmy G contract. Once they made the trade, they had to dive into it. I think after this year, there's not a ton of guaranteed money left, so it's not that bad in the grand scheme of things. Here's where it could look really, really bad, though, is that they acquired Jimmy G, halfway through the 2017 season? That was the same draft that they originally had the second overall pick. Knowing they really needed a quarterback, what happens if they just take Patrick Mahomes? What happens if they take Deshaun Watson? Shit, at this point, what happens if they would have even taken Mitchell Trubisky? So I don't know if they regret it yet, but it most certainly has not paid off for them. Dave asks, who would you take, Mitchell Trubisky or Marcus Mariota? Trubisky is actually able to stay on the field so far in his career. Mariota, that is a challenge. Mariota is in season 5. Trubisky is entering season 3. Trubisky has 3 more years of his rookie contract. Mariota has 1. It's Trubisky, and it's not even close. Mags Colts Pack. With Andrew Luck retiring, how many games do the Colts win? I don't think all hope is lost with Jacoby Brissett as their quarterback. I really don't. And I don't know if there's that much of a margin between teams 1 through 4 in that AFC South anyways. But to find out what I ultimately think about the Colts in 2019, again, when I do the team-by-team previews, that's when you'll get your answer. Robert asks, your thoughts on Daniel Jones's preseason, and should he start week 1? It is preseason, so let's not get too carried away. If I remember back in the day, didn't Blaine Gabbert kick ass his rookie year in the preseason, and he sucked? Sometimes dudes will have great preseasons, and it's a foreshadowing of things to come, and sometimes it's not. What I saw when he played against the Bears was a lot of short, simple passes, and he still had, which was a tendency of his at Duke, to be loose with the football. Had a couple of fumbles. Like, you can't have those types of sloppy fumbles, those reckless, careless type of fumbles. As much as I've tweeted and talked about here, them taking Daniel Jones 6th overall and mocking him for it, I don't think I'm as low on Daniel Jones as maybe some others were. That said, there is something to be said about the dude was at Duke and they never really got past a certain point. Should he start week 1? Yeah, he should, but he's not going to because the Giants are dumb. California EST 96. Is Jared Goff underrated because he's a boring white dude? I think I cut off context of that question, but enough of the point. How underrated is he? I think the underrated element is the relationship between Jared Goff and the head coach Sean McVay. Those two clearly have a great camaraderie, a great chemistry, a great working relationship. That matters more than just the pure talent. Because when you saw Jared Goff in the Super Bowl, he was the shits. And you saw in the regular season against the Bears, he was horrible. So I don't know how underrated he really is. How good is he really? You look at the Rams, Jared Goff is probably going to get a big money second deal, in large part, not so much based sheerly off of his performance and play, but off the relationship that he has with head coach Sean McVay. I just don't know if I'd be willing to dive $35 million plus a year into Jared Goff at this point. Justin Olba. How many active QBs would be Hall of Famers right now? Assuming that no other games played, like they called it a career. Let me run through my mental Rolodex division by division. If I forget somebody, it is just because I'm trying to do this off the seat of my pants. Tom Brady, duh. Big Ben, yes. Even if Luck was still active, no. Phillip Rivers, yes. Am I forgetting anybody out of the AFC? I don't think so. NFC, Eli's going to go in, even though I don't think he deserves it. Your question is, who would be Hall of Famers right now? He's going to be one. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers would be one. Stad Pafford is not. Drew Brees is definitely one. Matt Ryan probably has to start going into that conversation. Russell Wilson probably is at this point in time. Probably. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I mean, Russ has been in the league 7 years now, won a Super Bowl, been to 2 Super Bowls. He wouldn't have as strong a case as some of the other guys, mind you, like the Bradys and the Breezes of the world and so forth. But if I miss somebody, please forgive me. I was trying to do this on the fly, but those would be the names that I could think of most prominently. Kyle Hutton, what do you think about Jay-Z and the NFL? Is he a sellout? I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I really haven't paid that much attention to it. And I guess here's my thing, is like, if even if you're a fan of Jay-Z, if this pisses you off and surprises you, then you're the moron. You don't think Jay-Z would sit there and sell shit out in order to make more money? Like, that's the name of the game. That's what he does. Like, this should not fucking surprise you. It shouldn't. In the grand scheme of things, like, I do get to the point, I'm sorry, there's a little bit of outrage fatigue. Like, it's kind of the thing, like, for the people that bitch about everything that Donald Trump does. Like, I dislike and hate Donald Trump as president as much as a lot of these people. But the fact of the matter is I'm not going to sit there and complain and bitch about every single freaking thing the dude does, because you get a diminishing return out of doing that. Focus on those bigger, more prevalent things and really hammer those home. Don't sit there and whine about, oh, he said this or he said that. You know, like, sometimes it's, and like in the grand scheme of things, like, this is how ridiculous it has gotten. Is you have people talking about Donald Trump being the worst president of all time. And I sit there and say, I think he's a horrible leader. I think he's a horrible representation of the country, but perhaps an accurate representation of who this country really is, as opposed to what it pretends to be. But in the grand scheme of things, how in the fuck, like even in recent times, like how in the hell could you look at Donald Trump based off of what he's done in less than 3 years and think he is worse than George W. Bush? Like, is your hatred and obsession with the orange pumpkin so bad that it clouds your reality? Bush started 2 unconstitutional foreign wars. You know, you could go on and on and on about Bush. Like, Trump is bad. Yeah, sure. He is not on George W. Bush's level, but people talk about Trump like he's the worst thing in the world of all time. He's an idiot. He's a lot of things, but he's not worse than George W. Bush. The point I'm getting at here is it's all this outrage. Like, if Jay-Z doesn't do it, then he's going to get bitched at. If he does do it, he's going to get bitched at. Everybody's going to bitch about something, so fuck it. Just go out there and get paid, get yours. That's simple. Keys 10. Can OBJ have a Khalil Mack type of impact on the Browns? I think he could have a big impact. Khalil Mack type of impact? Maybe, but that might be stretching just a little bit. Vincent Ngakoue. Most overrated offensive and defensive players. I don't have time, honestly, to answer this question, so I will probably hit you up on Twitter to respond to this. Ryan Smith, a team flying under the radar that has a chance to be a playoff team. You're going to have to tune in to the team-by-team previews. Nice try to see who I think some of those teams could be. Chris Wilkes, are the Bears any better than when they had Smokin' Jay Cutler? Yes. 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 Even if you want to point to that 2010 team. Yes, they got to the NFC Championship game. It was the only time they got to the damn playoffs the entire time he was there. No. They're a better overall, more well-balanced team now than they were under the Jay Cutler experience. Stefan W., what's your take on the Patrick Chung situation? I think he get popped off for selling drugs or some shit. Again, like during the summer, I did not keep up on a lot of this stuff, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to play catch up here. If that's what it was, like he was selling cocaine or something, was it a cocaine distribution ring or something? If I'm wrong, I apologize. I'm trying to spitball here. Like, it just goes to show you these guys could get these opportunities, make all this money, and still be complete and total morons. The fucking Lizard King asks expectations for Fangio's Broncos this year. That defense should be really, really good. If Flacco doesn't totally suck, they could surprise some people. That's all I'll say. Mike Millen, expectations for Sam Darnold and the Jets this season. I expect Darnold to take quite a step forward in year number 2. And I think the Jets could be in the running to be second place in the AFC East. Paulie Paul, who should I start as flex week number 1? David Montgomery or DJ Moore? Only thing that concerns me about saying Montgomery is the fact that he's playing on Thursday. You're not really sure what his utilization is going to be in Nagy's offense, where DJ Moore, you could potentially presume that he might be the number 1 wide receiver. Ask me that on Twitter leading up a little closer to week 1. Mark Whalen, worst team out of Miami, the Giants, and the Bengals. You'll have to tune in the team-by-team previews to find out. You see what I'm doing? This is called plugging, promoting, and putting it off. Chris Joseph, most surprising and disappointing rookies for the 2018 draft. Here's the deal. That's 1 year in. If you wanted to say the 2017 draft, like for me, obviously, it would be Solomon Thomas was a gigantic disappointment. But 2018, we're only 1 year in. I'm not going to call anybody a disappointment at this point. You could say a surprise would be like a Darius Leonard. Because while everybody's like, oh, you had a 4th round grade up, and like, there were flaws on his tape at South Carolina State. Like, I'm sure I wasn't the only person that had him rated in that 3rd, 4th round range. And he was freaking studly as a rookie. So, just saying, like, he was a surprise. But 1 year in is too hard. The Semdem. How many games does Bill O'Brien have till he's booted from the Patriots South? Well, they just let him fucking take over for reasons that are still unbeknownst to me. Like, even if they tank this year, would he get fired? I don't know. But the pressure's got to be on, doesn't it? Because he took over everything. He's running the entire show. Why the freaking hell I would give him the entire show when he's done not even enough as a head coach to get deep into playoffs, even one time? Beyond me. Josh Grantham. So to answer your question, though, Semdem, I don't know if he gets booted at all this year. Josh Grantham, what's the preseason look like ideally compared to what it is now? I don't know. If the games are going to be like this, then make the preseason 2 games. Make the regular season 18 games. Incorporate 2 bye weeks. Pay players for 18 games instead of 16. Like, that's what you got to do. This preseason crap is trash, and it's only going to get worse. Marcus Money, are you seeing any signs of Baker's ego getting too big for him to handle? The shot at Daniel Jones was kind of surprising and felt a little bit uncalled for. Like, it's kind of almost like one of those stay in your lane. Like, if the dude hasn't popped off about you, just shut the fuck up and leave him alone. Do your thing. Like, I'd be a little concerned about that. He's always going to have these moments, and that's part of what the appeal was with him. That was part of the thing you like with him. Well, sometimes he might stick his foot in his mouth. The Duke Johnson stuff, like, I don't think it's getting too big for him to handle yet. I don't think his personality is too much to handle yet. And ultimately, if he performs at a high level in 2019, you can put up with a lot more of this shit. But eventually, you could have run into some long-term problems in terms of the locker room if he acts like this, because at times he could rub people the wrong way. So anyways, thanks to all of you that submitted your questions. You got a lot more videos coming up on this channel this week, so stay tuned.